You've been there, right? You spent years maybe studying English.
Mm-hmm.
You understand podcasts like this one. You can read stuff online, maybe even write emails pretty well.
Yeah, passive skills feel okay.
Exactly. But then that moment comes when you actually have to speak. Maybe it's a meeting, maybe just meeting someone new, and nothing. You freeze.
The words are just stuck.
They're there, you know them, but they won't come out. You feel completely stuck, silent, maybe even a bit, afraid.
It's that really frustrating gap, isn't it? You've got all the pieces, the vocab, the grammar rules tucked away somewhere.
Right.
But they just don't click together into speech when you need them. The source material we're looking at today really nails that feeling.
It does. Like having this amazing toolbox, but you can't actually build anything with it.
Yeah, exactly. And it talks about those, well, let's be honest, those cringy moments we can all relate to.
Oh, yeah. Like the job interview example where the only English that came out under pressure was, I am, like music, thank you.
Oof. Or, trying to connect on a date and tell me about yourself gets I am from dot work.
And that feeling of shame just hits you because you know you can communicate better than that.
Right. For years, people tell you, oh, you're just shy, or you need more grammar drills, or maybe you just don't have the talent.
But the real aha moment in this source material, the breakthrough idea, it flips that completely.
It does. It suggests the core issue isn't talent. It's not about knowing more rules. It's a lack of repetition. And crucially, a lack of output. Active speaking practice.
Yeah, it makes this really important distinction between passive learning, watching videos, reading, filling in blanks.
Right, soaking it all in.
Versus active learning. The analogy they use is great.
Yeah.
You can read books about swimming forever, understand the physics, the strokes.
But you won't swim until you get in the water and actually train your muscles, train your body.
Exactly. And this material argues you have to train your mouth, train your brain for that active production, for speaking.
So how do you actually build that muscle memory? How do you make that shift from passive listener to active, confident speaker?
Well, that's where this single habit comes in. The one they found changed everything for them. It's called shadowing.
Shadowing. It sounds maybe a bit technical, but the core idea, as they describe it, is actually pretty simple.
Super simple. You listen to a native speaker and you repeat with them at the exact same time.
Like you're their shadow, their audio shadow, mimicking everything.
Exactly. And our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack that. What is shadowing? Why does the source say it works so fast?
We'll walk you through the step-by-step 30-day plan they used, straight from the material.
Talk about the results you can realistically expect and show you exactly how you can use this one habit to finally unlock your voice and feel genuinely confident speaking English.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics then. What exactly is the shadowing thing?
Okay, so the core action is listen to a native speaker and repeat at the same time as them.
Right, not after they finish, with them.
With them. You're trying to match their speed, their rhythm, their intonation, word for word, sound for sound as they're speaking.
They mention it feels a bit weird at first.
Totally. Like doing karaoke, but just sort of mumbling along with the singer, not actually singing.
Yeah, I can imagine. But then after a bit, they say something just clicks.
Right. And the reason this simple copying act is so powerful, they found, is it trains 3 key things all at once.
Okay, what are they?
Your ears, they get tuned into real English sounds and rhythms. Your tongue and mouth muscles, they develop the physical memory for pronunciation.
Ah, the muscle memory aspect.
Exactly. And your brain, it gets faster at processing language for actually speaking it and anticipating phrases.
So you're moving beyond just learning single words or abstract grammar rules.
Yeah, this method trains your brain to grab and use what the source calls chunks of language.
Chunks, like ready-made phrases.
Exactly. Those phrases native speakers use constantly without even thinking. Like, you know what I mean? Or I've been meaning to, or no worries, I got it.
Okay, so the stuff you actually hear in conversations.
Right. Those are the real building blocks. And by shadowing, your brain starts to expect them, which speeds up recall and makes you sound way more natural.
And it builds confidence too, right? Because you're following along, not starting from scratch in silence.
Huge confidence builder. You're literally building the physical muscle memory for speaking.
But it's practice, not magic. That's important.
Definitely. The source stresses that. It's focused, active practice, but they were pretty amazed by how quickly they saw results.
Okay, so how do we actually do it? You mentioned a 30-day plan.
Yes. The source lays out the exact plan they followed. It's just 15 to 30 minutes a day.
15 to 30 minutes, that sounds manageable.
Totally. But the key, they really hammer this home, is consistency. Every single day.
Right. Showing up daily is more important than doing a marathon session once a week.
Exactly. Think of it like, daily exercise for your English-speaking muscles. So let's break down their plan week by week.
Okay, week 1, what's the focus?
Week 1 is all about building the base, just getting used to the act of shadowing.
Okay, just forming the habit.
Right. You use short clips, like under a minute. And importantly, subtitles on in. Keep the subtitles on for this first week.
Got it. And the daily routine?
Simple. Listen to the clip twice, just to get it. Then shadow it 3 times, trying to match the speaker.
Okay.
And here's a step they found really crucial. Record yourself shadowing.
The dreaded recording.
Yeah. But listening back helps you hear where you can improve. It accelerates learning.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the clips? Any specific type?
They suggest mixing it up from day 3 onwards. Try some dialogue, it'd be a monologue, bits of interviews.
Okay, variety.
Yeah, and the focus is just pronunciation and rhythm, not speed yet. Pausing if you fall behind is totally fine.
So no pressure, just get used to it.
Exactly. By day 7, the goal is just feeling your mouth moving more naturally, maybe starting to notice some of those phrase chunks and feeling a little bit more confident.
Okay, week 1, build the base. What about week 2?
Week 2 starts to ramp it up. Focus shifts to improving speed and sounding more natural, getting that intonation right.
Okay, a bit more challenging.
Yeah. You use slightly longer clips now, maybe 1 to 2 minutes. And on day 8, they suggest trying something new, shadow, without looking at the script first.
Oh, okay. Relying just on your ears.
Right, just listen and shadow, then check the subtitles afterwards to see how accurate you were.
I see. Test your listening, too.
Exactly. Then days 9 and 10 introduce something they call shadow plus speak.
Shadow plus speak.
Yeah, you shadow a phrase or sentence, then immediately pause the audio and try to repeat it again from memory.
Okay. So it trains recall and helps make it more automatic.
Precisely. Building that automaticity.
Yeah.
By day 14, the aim is to shadow maybe a minute and a half nonstop. Really copy the intonation ups and downs and start handling those tricky link sounds.
Like what?
You know, like, how would you mind? Or what do you do? Often sound like, would you mind? Or what is it doing? Or let me think becomes let me think.
Right, those natural contractions and connections. Okay, week 2, speed and natural sound. What's week 3 about?
Week 3 moves from just mimicking to actually using the language and adding emotion.
Where's the emotion? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, the goal is to speak with feeling and use phrases in context. So each day you pick a common topic, ordering coffee, making small talk, giving directions.
Real life situations.
Exactly. Find clips of conversations on that topic and shadow those. On days 15 and 16, you really focus on copying the tone and the emotion.
Why is that so important?
Because English isn't just words, right? It's the feeling behind them. They stress this makes the language stick better and sound more authentic.
Okay, copy the feeling, then what?
Days 17 and 18, you build speaking instinct. Pause the video sometimes and try to predict the next sentence.
Like guessing what comes next naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on the flow, then play it and see how close you got. It trains your brain for those patterns.
Clever.
And then, days 19 to 21, you step into the speaker's shoes. Record your own 30-second version of a scene you shadowed, but change some words.
So adapt the language.
Exactly. Adapt it to fit you or a slightly different situation.
Yeah.
You start making the language your own, not just a copy.
I like that, making it yours. Okay, week 3. Use the language, add emotion. Final week, week 4.
Week 4 is about full flow and personal fluency. The goal is speaking more freely, maybe starting to think more directly in English.
The home stretch.
Right. You use longer clips, 2 to 3 minutes now. Days 22 to 24, challenge yourself. Shadow without subtitles first. Test your comprehension.
Okay.
Then shadow with subtitles to catch the details. Then try one more time without any help and record yourself to see the progress.
Got it. A multi-step process.
Yeah. And days 25 to 27 are about personalization. Pick maybe 5 key sentences or chunks you liked from your practice on a topic and rewrite them to fit your life. The example they give is great. Take, I haven't seen you in ages, and change it to something personal like, I haven't eaten sushi in months.
So you're actively making it relevant to you. That's smart.
It really makes it stick.
Yeah.
And then the final challenge, days 28 to 30, the grand finale. Yeah. Watch a 3-minute video, shadow it maybe 2 or 3 times, then turn it completely off.
Okay.
And try to retell the whole scene or the main points in your own words.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Just for memory and practice.
Yeah. And they said they were genuinely amazed how much they could recall and how much more naturally it flowed out by then.
That progression sounds really solid. Building block by block. So after that 30 days, how do you keep it going? How do you use these chunks in the real world?
That's where consciously focusing on those power chunks, as the source calls them, really helps. Those ready-to-use phrases for everyday situations.
Right, not just random words, practical phrases.
Exactly. The material gives good examples. Like at a coffee shop, practice the whole interaction chunks. What can I get started for you? I have a you. Can I get it with, that'll be, here you go.
And practice saying the whole chunk, not just filling a blank?
Right. And then adapt it. Don't just practice, I'll have a latte. Practice, I'll have a black coffee, no room. Or I'll have a large iced tea. Make it flexible.
Makes sense. What about other situations?
Small talk is a big one. Practice chunks like, how was your weekend? Just relaxed at home. Oh, that sounds great. Where'd you go? Up near. This is how people actually talk, right?
Yeah, definitely not textbook dialogues.
Or even something like a doctor's visit. What seems to be the problem? I've had a persistent cough. Have you taken anything for it? Just some over-the-counter stuff, but it hasn't helped much.
And saying those with the right feeling, like you mentioned for week 3, probably helps lock them in.
Absolutely. That tip about speaking with emotion comes up again. When you practice, that sounds great. Actually smile, feel enthusiastic, let your voice and body convey it.
It makes it more memorable and more natural sounding to others.
Totally. And they listed a few versatile phrases they shadowed daily until they felt automatic. I'm not sure. Sounds good to me. Let me think. No worries. I've been meaning to. I'll get back to you.
Ah, those useful conversational fillers and softeners. Really handy.
Yeah, they become part of your natural toolkit.
Okay, this all sounds very practical. What about tools and resources? And how do you stay motivated for 30 days?
Good question. For resources, if you can't find the perfect clip, they suggest making your own practice material easily.
How?
Choose any short video, under 2 millions. Watch it twice with subtitles. Jot down maybe 5 key sentences you want to learn. Practice saying just those 5 sentences out loud 3 times, then record yourself using them. Simple.
That sounds very doable. And the tools they used?
Mostly free stuff. YouTube is huge, especially with auto captions. TED Talks for clear speech. They mentioned the show Friends for emotional, real-sounding dialogue.
Sure.
BBC Learning English has good structured stuff. Google Docs for saving your phrases. And just a basic voice recorder app on your phone for that crucial recording step.
Right. And staying consistent. Any tips for that? Accountability?
Yeah, they had a few ideas. Find a speaking buddy if you can, just someone to check in with.
Okay.
Maybe post one short recording weekly, even privately, like in a journal or a voice note app.
Yeah.
Just to track progress.
Visual progress.
Yeah, and make a simple checklist, 30 boxes, tick one off each day, very satisfying. And reward yourself for hitting milestones.
Good idea. What if you miss a day? Life happens.
Crucial point. Absolutely no guilt. Just acknowledge it and start again the next day. The habit isn't broken, you just paused. Pick it back up.
That's a relief. No self-blame. So after all this 30-day intense focus, what did it really change? It sounds like more than just pronunciation.
Oh, definitely. It was a mindset shift, too.
Yeah.
By day 30, they described looking in the mirror, recording themselves speaking English, and not cringing for the first time.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah. Their voice sounded confident, natural, real. Not perfect, they stressed that, but authentically them speaking English.
What were the noticeable changes in their speaking?
They realized they were speaking without constantly translating back and forth in their head.
Thinking more directly in English.
Exactly. And those longer natural chunks they'd practiced were just coming out automatically. The fear, that freezing up feeling, was way less intense.
That's huge.
And they learned to handle mistakes better. Instead of shutting down, they used phrases like native speakers do. Let me think. Sorry, I'm not sure how to say this.
Right, recovering gracefully.
Yeah. It felt like them speaking English, not like reciting a textbook. That shadowing had really done its job, like targeted training.
And practicing those chunks just made speaking feel easier, faster, maybe even fun.
More enjoyable, definitely. And the biggest takeaway, the core mindset shift, seems to be this. You don't need perfect English. You need brave English.
Brave English. I like saying.
That's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
They really emphasize your accent isn't the main thing. What connects is your energy, your message, your story.
And they redefine fluency too, don't they? Not just about speed.
Right. Fluency is comfort. Being comfortable enough to say, sorry, I don't understand. Can you say that again? If you need clarification.
Or comfortable explaining something differently if you weren't understood. Okay, let me try explaining it this way.
Exactly. So the big message is, stop chasing perfect grammar in your head. Start chasing real conversations actively. That's where the real skill develops.
This whole deep dive really hammers home what the source material discovered. One voice, one clip, that one habit of shadowing, practice consistently.
Yeah.
It really can change everything.
It can. And the people who shared this journey, they're convinced you can do it too. Because they started right where you might be stuck, silent, frustrated.
So the invitation is just to take the first step. Shadow your first video. Maybe today.
Yeah. Speak with your full voice, your full heart, as they say. Commit to that 15, 30 minutes a day. Just see what happens in 30 days of this kind of focused, active practice.
The aim is ending up with a voice in English that finally feels like it's really yours.
Exactly.
You know, what's really interesting beyond just language, if this focused, consistent daily practice on one specific skill, like speaking English, if that can create such a big change in just 30 days, well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How could that same blueprint apply to learning any skill you want to develop?
That's a great point. What else could you unlock with just, say, 15 to 30 minutes of that kind of dedicated, focused practice every single day?
Hey, everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into something a lot of you have been asking about, sounding more fluent in English.
Yeah.
It's not about like textbook grammar rules.
Right.
It's more like that natural flow that you hear native speakers use.
Yeah, it's like the difference between, reading lines from a script and actually becoming the character.
Oh, I like that.
You're really owning the language,
Yeah.
making it like a natural extension of how you think.
Okay, so we found this source that claims you can boost your fluency by focusing on just 33 words.
33 words.
Yeah. But these aren't just any random words. These are words that
Right.
advanced English speakers use all the time to make their ideas connect really smoothly and to express themselves more powerfully and just sound really natural.
So it's not about like memorizing the entire dictionary.
Right.
It's about picking out these key words that'll make a big impact.
Yeah, exactly. Like a minimalist wardrobe, with those essential pieces that you can mix and match for any occasion.
I like that.
So we're talking about things like linking words, powerful verbs, nuanced adjectives, and even some of those tricky word pairs that people get mixed up and those cool, natural phrases that native speakers throw around.
Yeah, those idiomatic expressions.
Yeah.
Those are really fun.
Those are really fun, and they can be a little hard to grasp sometimes, but we'll break it down.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump right in with these linking words.
Okay.
This source makes the point that these words are like the glue that holds your sentences together and makes your speech sound more sophisticated.
It helps you move beyond just simple sentences.
Yes.
And show that you can connect more complex ideas.
Right. It's like instead of sounding like you're reading a shopping list, you're crafting a story.
Exactly.
Or you're building an argument.
Yeah. So what are some of these linking words?
Well, the first one is however.
Okay.
Which is great for introducing a contrasting idea.
Okay.
So like, I love pizza, however, I'm trying to eat healthier. It just creates that natural shift in your thought.
It's subtle, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
If you just said, I love pizza, I'm trying to eat healthier.
Right.
It would sound kind of jarring.
Right. Yes.
Like two separate thoughts instead of one connected idea.
Exactly. Okay, then we have therefore, which is all about cause and effect.
Okay.
He missed his flight, therefore he was late to the meeting.
Right.
Boom. You made that connection.
It shows you can connect cause and effect.
Exactly.
You understand how these ideas relate to each other.
Yeah, that makes you sound smart.
Yeah, you're not just stating facts, but you're reasoning.
Yes. Besides is another good one. I don't want to go out tonight. Besides, I have a lot of work to do. It's like that extra emphasis.
Yeah, it's like, and another thing.
Yes. Like you're giving a bonus reason.
Yeah.
Okay, now, meanwhile, which is perfect for showing two things are happening at the same time.
Okay.
The storm raged outside. Meanwhile, we were cozy by the fire.
Ooh, I like that.
Paints a picture.
Yeah, it adds a sense of like dynamism. Like you're creating a little movie in the listener's mind.
Okay, and the last linking word in this section is thus.
Thus.
It might sound a little formal, but it adds that finality to your statement.
Okay.
So she practiced every day, thus she won the competition.
It's like this was the natural conclusion.
Yes.
Like it was inevitable.
Right. Okay, so we've got our sentences flowing smoothly now with those linking words.
Yeah.
Now let's amp up the impact with some powerful verbs.
Verbs. Yes. They're the engine of our sentences.
They
drive the action. They give us that energy and movement.
And the source says that by using strong and specific verbs, you can make your communication more memorable.
It's the difference between, a hazy sketch and a vibrant painting.
Ooh, I like that.
Specific verbs just bring your ideas to life.
So the first verb they highlight is enhance,
Okay.
which means to improve something,
Right.
but it goes beyond just basic improvement.
It does.
This new software will enhance your productivity.
Enhance has that feeling of taking something good and making it even better.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Adding a layer of refinement.
Like leveling up.
Yes, exactly.
Huh.
And it's much more compelling than just saying improve.
Yeah. Okay. Next we have acknowledge. He acknowledged his mistake and apologized. It sounds more mature
More formal.
than just saying he admitted he was wrong.
Yeah. Acknowledge implies a sense of ownership.
Yeah.
Like you're really taking responsibility.
That's a good one. Okay, and then we have pursue, which suggests a really determined effort to reach a goal.
Okay.
She decided to pursue a career in music.
Not just dabbling.
Yeah.
Really going for it.
Yes, and then there's implement, which is putting plans into action.
Okay.
The company implemented a new strategy to increase sales.
So it's about taking action.
Yeah.
Making things happen.
Yes, and last but not least for this category is emphasize,
Okay.
which is like shining a spotlight on something important. The teacher emphasized the importance of critical thinking.
It gives weight to what you're saying.
Right, you're not just mentioning it in passing.
Exactly. You're making sure it sticks.
Okay, so we've connected our ideas smoothly. We've added those power verbs.
Yeah.
Now it's time to add some color and depth with carefully chosen adjectives.
Oh, adjectives. I love adjectives.
Me too, they're fun.
Yeah, they can totally transform the feeling and the imagery.
It's like adding filters to your photos.
Yes. You can make something brighter, bolder, or more dramatic.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so this source picked out some really nuanced adjectives that we're going to go through.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so first up is compelling.
Compelling.
She presented a compelling argument that changed everyone's minds.
Compelling is so strong.
Yeah.
It suggests something that you can't ignore.
Right.
It draws you in.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
It's powerful.
It is.
Okay, next we have ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
This one's a little tricky.
Okay.
The ending of the movie was ambiguous, leaving the audience to draw their own conclusions.
You know, ambiguity can be frustrating
It's
sometimes,
true.
but it can also be really powerful.
Right. Like in a story, it creates a sense of mystery,
Yeah.
keeps you guessing.
And in real life, things aren't always black and white.
Exactly.
There's a lot of gray area.
And being comfortable with that,
Yeah.
that's a sign of a sophisticated thinker.
I like that. Okay, so now for substantial, which implies something solid and significant. There's substantial evidence to support this theory.
Like it's grounded.
Yes.
It's not just a guess.
It's not a hunch.
Right.
It's like, don't just take my word for it.
Exactly.
Here are the facts.
I like that.
Okay, next up, we have inevitable, which implies a sense of certainty or destiny.
Okay.
Technological advancements are inevitable in the modern world.
It's like saying this is going to happen no matter what. It's bound to happen.
Makes me think about that saying death and taxes are the only certainties in life.
Right.
But now we can add technological advancements to that list.
Pretty safe bet, I think.
Okay, and finally, for this category, we have plausible.
Which means something seems reasonable, but not necessarily true.
Yeah.
His explanation sounded plausible, but I still had my doubts.
So you're not fully convinced,
Not yet.
but it's possible.
Yeah, it could be true.
It's like you need more information.
Yes, exactly. Okay, now this next section, I know a lot of people struggle with.
Oh, really?
Commonly misused words.
Oh, yes.
These are the words that can trip up.
Yeah, even native speakers,
Even native speakers, right?
they can be tricky.
So this source focuses on a few pairs
Okay.
that are notoriously difficult.
Right.
First up, affect versus effect.
Okay, the classic
The classic.
effect is usually a verb,
Right.
meaning to influence or impact something.
Okay.
The weather will affect our travel plans.
An effect is usually a noun,
Right.
meaning the result or the consequence of something.
The effect of the storm was devastating.
Oh, okay. So far, so good.
Now, of course, English wouldn't be English without a few exceptions.
Right.
Effect can sometimes be a verb,
Oh.
meaning to bring about or to cause.
Okay. But for everyday conversations,
Yeah.
remembering that basic distinction is going to be really helpful.
Okay, good tip. Okay, next up we have compliment versus compliment.
Okay, compliment is an expression of praise or admiration.
Okay.
I complimented her on her excellent presentation.
And compliment means to complete or enhance something.
Ah, so they work well together.
Yes.
They create a harmonious whole.
The wine perfectly complemented the meal.
Ah, there you go.
Okay, now for the distance dilemma,
Oh.
farther versus further. Farther is for physical distance.
I ran farther than I did yesterday.
And further is for metaphorical distance or advancement.
Okay.
We need to discuss this further.
It can also mean additional or more. Like,
Yeah.
I have no further questions.
Okay, this next pair even I get mixed up sometimes.
Oh.
Imply versus infer.
Imply means to suggest something indirectly.
Okay.
She implied that she was unhappy in her job.
Okay, so she didn't say it directly.
Exactly.
But you could kind of read between the lines. Yes. And infer means to draw a conclusion based on what someone said or did.
Okay.
I inferred from her tone that she was upset.
Okay, so the speaker implies and the listener infers.
You got it.
Okay, I think I've got that one now. Okay,
Yeah.
last one in this tricky word pair category.
Okay.
Principal versus principal.
Principal is the head of a school.
Right.
The principal called a meeting with the teachers.
And principle refers to a fundamental truth or belief.
Mm.
He lives by a strong set of moral principles.
And a good way to remember is that principle ends in lay,
Okay.
just like rule,
That makes sense.
which also has to do with, guidelines and standards.
You know, one of the things I love most about learning English is discovering those cool phrases that native speakers use.
Those idiomatic expressions,
Yeah.
they're like little windows into the culture.
They are?
They add color and humor and personality.
Yeah, and the source calls them natural-sounding phrases.
Okay.
I'm excited to dive in and see what they've found.
Me too.
Let's do it.
Like-
Okay, first up, we have out of the blue, which means something happens unexpectedly or without warning.
Oh, okay.
She called me out of the blue after all these years.
Yeah, it's a great way to describe something surprising.
Yeah.
It's like a clear sky, and then suddenly there's a bolt of lightning.
Boom, out of the blue.
Exactly.
Then we have hit the nail on the head, which means to say or do something perfectly.
Okay.
You hit the nail on the head with that analysis.
You got it exactly right.
Right.
Like you targeted the truth.
Okay, next we have break the ice, which is all about easing tension or awkwardness.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
He told a joke to break the ice at the party.
It's like that first crack in a frozen lake.
Yeah.
It opens up the possibility for connection.
Okay, and then there's the classic think outside the box, which means to be creative and come up with those unconventional solutions.
Challenge those assumptions.
Yes.
Break free from those limitations.
We need to think outside the box to solve this problem.
I like it.
And last but not least for this category, we have a blessing in disguise.
Oh, yeah.
It's about something that seems bad at first, but turns out to be beneficial in the end. Losing my job was a blessing in disguise because it forced me to pursue my true passion.
So a setback leads to a new opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. I feel like my vocabulary is expanding.
Me too. But we're not done yet.
I know, I'm excited.
The source argues that by using advanced nouns,
Yes.
you can demonstrate a deeper understanding, and you sound more articulate.
It's like leveling up your communication skills.
Exactly.
So which advanced nouns do they recommend?
Well, the first one is dilemma,
Okay.
which is that difficult choice between two or more options. And none of the options are that great.
Right.
I'm facing a dilemma about whether to stay in my current job or take this new opportunity.
It's more than just a simple problem.
It is.
Yeah,
It
but-
requires really careful consideration.
Next up, we have perspective,
Perspective.
which refers to a particular way of viewing things. From his perspective, the decision made perfect sense.
It acknowledges that different people
Yeah.
can see the same situation in different ways
Totally.
because they have different backgrounds and experiences.
Right. Then there's momentum,
Momentum.
which suggests a forward movement or a gathering force.
Like things are picking up speed.
The project gained momentum after the initial success.
It becomes harder to stop or change direction.
Okay, repercussions is a weighty one.
Yes, it is.
It refers to those consequences
Right.
or after effects of an action or event. Her actions had serious repercussions for the entire team.
So it highlights how everything's interconnected.
Yeah.
One action can have ripple effects.
And finally, we have consensus,
Consensus.
which means general agreement among a group.
So you come to a shared understanding.
After much debate, the team finally reached a consensus.
Everyone's on board.
Yeah, wow, we've really gone deep on these words. It's amazing how much nuance and power they have.
Language is fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
The more you explore it, the more you realize there's always more to learn.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yes.
I'm curious what's resonating with our listeners.
Yeah, what's standing out to you? Are there any words or phrases that you're excited to try out in your own conversations?
Or maybe there's a word pair you've finally conquered.
Yeah, after years of confusion.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so, we were just talking about those commonly misused words.
Oh, yeah.
Those tricky pairs.
Yeah, like effect and all that.
Exactly. But mastering those is really key to clear communication.
Because if you use the wrong word, people might misunderstand what you're trying to say.
That's right.
Okay, so let's jump back in with these natural-sounding phrases,
Ah, yes.
which the source describes as giving your language that kind of conversational flair.
It's like adding those little spices
Oh,
to your language.
I like that.
Brings out the flavor.
Yeah.
Gives it more personality.
Exactly.
Okay, so first up, we have out of the blue,
Out of the blue.
which means something happens unexpectedly or without warning.
Okay.
She called me out of the blue after all these years.
It's like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
Then we have hit the nail on the head,
Hit the nail on the head. I like that one.
which means to say or do something perfectly. You hit the nail on the head with that analysis.
You got it exactly right.
Yes. Okay, next there's break the ice,
Break the ice.
which is a phrase we use to talk about easing tension or awkwardness.
Often in social situations,
Yes.
right?
He told a joke to break the ice at the party.
That's a good way to get the conversation flowing.
Yeah, to make people feel more comfortable.
Exactly.
Okay, and then we have another classic, think outside the box.
Think outside the box. That's a good one.
This means to be creative and come up with those unconventional solutions.
Yeah. Challenge those assumptions.
Break free from limitations.
We need to think outside the box to solve this problem.
Yeah, that's often when the best solutions emerge.
Yeah, when you can get a little creative.
Exactly.
Okay, and the last one in this category, a blessing in disguise.
A blessing in disguise. Oh, I like that one.
So it's about something that seems bad at first, but then turns out to have a good outcome.
Okay.
So like losing my job was a blessing in disguise because it forced me to pursue my true passion.
Ah, so it pushed you in a new direction.
Yeah, and sometimes those unexpected changes can lead to something even better.
It's like when one door closes, another one opens.
Exactly. Okay, now this next section is all about using advanced nouns.
Okay.
So this source argues that using these more sophisticated nouns shows a deeper understanding of concepts, and it can make you sound more articulate.
It's like you're adding more tools to your toolbox.
I like that analogy.
Right.
Yeah, you've got more options to choose from.
More precision.
So the first noun they recommend is dilemma,
Dilemma.
which is a difficult situation or problem.
Right, where you have to make a choice.
But there's no easy answer.
Often between two or more options.
Yeah, and all of the options have downsides.
Right. It's a tough one.
I'm facing a dilemma about whether to stay in my current job or take this new opportunity.
Classic dilemma.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, next up, we have perspective,
Perspective.
which refers to a particular way of viewing things. From his perspective, the decision made perfect sense.
So acknowledging that different people can see things differently.
Based on their own experiences and beliefs.
Right. It's a way of understanding where someone's coming from.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
And then there's momentum,
Momentum.
which suggests forward movement or gathering force.
Like things are gaining speed.
The project gained momentum after the initial success.
It's like it's unstoppable.
Yeah, or at least harder to stop.
Exactly.
Okay, next we have repercussions,
Repercussions.
which refers to the consequences of something. Her actions had serious repercussions for the entire team.
So it highlights those unintended consequences.
Yeah, you do something and then there's a ripple effect.
Exactly. Things happen as a result.
Okay, and finally for this category we have consensus,
Consensus.
which means a general agreement among a group of people.
Everyone agrees.
Yeah, after much debate, the team finally reached a consensus.
It suggests that compromise was involved.
Right.
Different viewpoints were considered.
And everyone came to an agreement.
Exactly.
Wow, we've really gone deep on these words.
We have.
I'm loving this.
It's amazing how much nuance and power they have.
Yeah, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
That's true.
There's so much more to explore.
Language is a journey.
It is.
It never really ends.
That's what makes it so fascinating.
Exactly.
As we're getting close to the end of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm wondering what our listeners are thinking.
Me too. What are your takeaways?
Yeah. Are there any words you're particularly excited to start using?
Or maybe some phrases that have sparked your curiosity.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
As we've been talking about these 33 words, it's made me realize that it's not just about, sounding smarter or anything. It's about expressing yourself clearly.
Exactly. It's like having the right tools
Yeah.
for the job.
So you can really get your message across.
And that precision can make a big difference in how people understand you.
Yeah. Whether you're giving a presentation or having a serious conversation with someone.
Even writing an email.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I really appreciate about this source is that it doesn't just give us this list of words and say good luck.
Yeah.
It actually provides some really helpful tips
Right.
on how to actually use these words.
Practical advice.
Yes. So for our listeners who are ready to, take that next step,
Yeah.
what kind of practice strategies does this source recommend?
Well, one of the simplest but most effective ways is to just practice in context.
Uh,
Don't just try to memorize definitions.
right.
Use the words in real conversations.
Yeah, in everyday life,
Write emails.
even social media posts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like learning to cook.
Okay.
You can read recipes all day long.
Yeah.
But until you get in the kitchen and actually start cooking,
Right.
you're not going to really master it.
So you have to experiment.
Exactly.
The source also mentions the shadowing technique.
Shadowing.
Can you explain what that is?
So shadowing involves listening to a native speaker
Okay.
and repeating what they say,
Oh, okay.
mimicking their pronunciation,
Yeah.
their rhythm, their intonation.
So you're basically copying them.
Yes, you're shadowing their speech patterns.
And the source says this can really help you develop a more natural sounding accent.
Exactly. It trains your ear and your vocal muscles.
Okay. The source also recommends writing short paragraphs using these words every day.
Yeah, writing is such a powerful tool.
It is.
It makes you think carefully about each word you choose, about grammar, sentence structure.
Yeah, and you can go at your own pace.
Exactly. There's no pressure of having to speak in real time.
They also suggest recording yourself speaking,
Yes.
which can be a little awkward.
It can be, but it's so valuable.
Yeah.
You can hear yourself.
And identify those areas where you need to improve.
Like maybe you're using too many filler words.
All right.
Or your intonation is a little flat.
And then finally, the source emphasizes the importance of engaging in discussions.
Conversations.
Yes.
That's where you can really put everything into practice.
Yeah.
Try out those new words.
Yeah.
Get feedback.
And what I love about conversations is that they're unpredictable.
Dang,
You
yeah.
don't know what words you're going to need.
Right.
It's a challenge,
Yeah.
but it's also a great opportunity to learn.
It's like improv.
Oh, I like that.
They have to be ready for anything.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive, I'm realizing that these 33 words are really just a starting point.
Yeah.
It's like opening a door.
It's a whole new world.
Exactly, of language and fluency and expression.
And there's always more to learn.
There is.
New words, new expressions.
So for our listeners out there,
Yes.
don't be afraid to, experiment,
And have fun with it.
make mistakes.
Right. Embrace the journey.
Because the more you invest in your language skills, the more opportunities will open up for you.
Absolutely. Both personally and professionally.
Well, that's it for this deep dive into the power of 33 words for fluent English.
It's been a pleasure
It has been.
exploring these words with you.
And as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Until next time,
Keep learning.
keep exploring.
Keep the conversation going.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at a guide all about learning English.
Okay.
Practical strategies, inspiring stories.
Sound good.
Perfect for anyone learning a new language, really.
Uh-huh.
What I thought was really interesting about this guide was how much it focused on mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah, like it's not just about grammar drills.
Right. Right.
It's about your attitude.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. And what did you think about how much the guide talked about making mistakes?
Oh, yeah. That was fascinating how it emphasized embracing mistakes as chances to learn.
Like learning opportunities.
Yeah, opportunities, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that you listening right now might find really encouraging,
Especially if you want to
especially if you're...
learn quickly without feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Like you don't need to
We don't have to be perfect.
be
here.
perfect
Yeah.
right away.
Right.
Yeah. And the guide even used this phrase, consistency over perfection.
What do you think about that?
I like it.
Yeah.
I think what they're saying is that instead of trying to have like perfect English
Right. From day one.
right from day one,
Yeah.
it's better to focus on building those small daily habits.
Like little things you can do every day.
Yeah, just imagine adding just a few minutes of English into your day.
Yeah, like what?
Like reading an article online.
Uh-huh. Or listening to part of a podcast.
Yeah, just little things that add up.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be a big commitment.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Right?
It's way less intimidating than like hours of study.
Yeah.
And it just works better if you have a busy life.
Exactly. And the guide gives specific examples too.
Oh, really? Like what?
It suggests finding an English language podcast you like, even if it's just about a topic you're already interested in.
Yeah.
Or like putting English subtitles on your favorite TV shows.
I've done that.
Have you?
It's amazing how much you learn without even realizing it.
You pick up so much.
Yeah, you really do.
It's really cool.
But let's be real for a second. I think even with the best intentions, we all get to that point
To that point.
where we just feel stuck.
Yeah, where you're like, is this even working?
Yeah.
You hit a wall.
Is this even worth it?
Right.
Yeah, like I'm not making any progress.
That feeling is so common.
It is.
It really is.
Ugh.
And the guide talks about this directly.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it encourages you to try new methods and materials if you're not improving anymore.
So if one thing isn't working,
Yeah, try something else.
try something else.
It's like if you're trying to work out
Yeah.
and running isn't doing it for you, maybe you should try swimming.
Same goal,
Same
different approach.
Exactly.
So instead of just giving up,
You just got to experiment.
just try different things until something clicks.
Yeah.
Find what works for you.
Exactly. And the guide highlights that different people learn in different ways.
That's true.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with trying a bunch of different things until you find what you like best.
So like some people are visual learners.
Right. They might benefit more from flashcards.
Yeah. Or like those apps with pictures.
Yeah. With images, those are good.
Instead of just like listening to audio.
Exactly. You have to personalize your approach.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
But you know what I think is a big challenge for a lot of people?
What's that?
Speaking from it.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of having a conversation.
It can be scary.
It can be terrifying.
Yeah,
Does the guide have any advice on that?
it does.
Okay.
And it's really practical advice.
Okay, I like practical advice.
The guide suggests starting small, like recording voice messages to yourself in English.
Wait, say that again?
Recording voice messages to yourself in English.
Oh, I see. Like just talking to yourself.
Yeah, it might sound silly,
But it gets you used to
but it gets you used to hearing your own voice.
forming the words.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
It's like a stepping stone
Yeah,
to a real conversation.
but with way less pressure.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the guide also mentions that there are apps specifically for language exchange. Oh, cool.
Where you can connect with other learners.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, and practice speaking.
In a safe environment.
Yes, in a safe, supportive environment.
Oh, that's great for people who get nervous
Exactly.
about making mistakes.
Especially in front of others.
Yeah,
It's like dipping your toes in the water.
before you jump in.
Exactly.
Like that analogy.
And speaking of overcoming challenges,
Mm-hmm.
the guide has a whole section on staying motivated.
Ooh, I love this part.
I know you do.
I do. I love it.
Yeah, it's so easy to get excited at the beginning and then lose steam.
Right.
So what does the guide say about staying motivated?
What's the secret?
Well, it really emphasizes setting clear goals,
Mm-hmm.
but not just any goals. They need to be specific and achievable.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I want to be fluent,
Yeah.
maybe I want to be able to have a basic conversation about my hobbies.
That's much more manageable.
Exactly. Smaller goals feel less overwhelming.
You're more likely to succeed.
And you're more likely to celebrate your successes, which is another thing the guide talks about.
It is celebrating those little victories,
Yeah.
no matter how small they seem,
Mhm.
is super important for staying motivated.
It's like giving yourself a little pat on the back.
Yes, for each step on your journey.
Exactly. It's all about recognizing your own progress.
Right.
And that can be really powerful.
Really powerful.
Speaking of powerful, the guide also has stories of people,
Who have learned English.
successfully learned English.
Amazing.
Do any of those stories particularly stand out to you?
Absolutely. There's this one about a woman named Maria from Brazil.
Maria from Brazil.
Yeah, and she really struggled with pronunciation.
Oh, with the pronunciation.
Yeah, but she made sure to practice speaking
every day.
daily
Oh, yeah.
as part of her routine.
Oh, wow.
And guess what?
I bet she became fluent.
She did. She became fluent.
That's amazing.
It's so inspiring.
So that's what I love about these stories.
They show you it's possible.
Yeah, you don't have to start with a perfect accent.
They don't.
You just got to
Be persistent.
find what works for you.
Exactly. And keep going. And Maria's story is a perfect example of that.
That's so cool.
Small efforts over time
Yeah, consistency.
lead to big results.
Yeah, it's like that saying,
One's
you know, A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Oh, yeah.
It's very true. And speaking of journeys,
This guide is like a journey.
yeah, through all the different stages of learning English.
That's a good way to put it.
And it all starts with that mindset shift.
That's the foundation.
Yeah, like embracing those mistakes.
Yeah.
And focusing on making those habits.
Building good habits.
Yeah, building a solid foundation.
So you're not just learning grammar and vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
You're building this positive learning environment.
Where you don't get discouraged.
Yeah, where you see your mistakes as opportunities to grow.
Exactly.
I like that.
And then the guide dives into those specific challenges,
Oh, yeah, like what?
like the fear of speaking or hitting that plateau.
When you stop making progress,
It's like the guide knows what's coming,
it does.
and it gives you the tools to handle it.
It's like it's giving you a toolbox.
Yeah, with different strategies,
Yeah, for all the problems you might face.
like trying new methods or finding resources to practice speaking.
And setting realistic goals.
It's all there.
It is.
And then you have the inspiring stories
Oh, yeah.
that show that the strategies actually work.
It's one thing to hear the advice,
Yeah,
but it's another to see it in action.
to see real people.
Like Maria,
Yeah,
using these strategies and achieving fluency.
so inspiring.
It is.
And what I really like is how the guide emphasizes that learning English is a journey.
It's not a destination.
It's ongoing.
It's not like you reach fluency and then stop.
You're always learning.
You're always growing.
Yeah, it becomes part of who you are.
Exactly.
That's a really cool way to look at it.
And that's where the guide's final message comes in.
Oh, what's that?
It encourages the listener
Yeah, you listen right now
to take everything you've learned
from the guide
from this deep dive,
and use it.
apply it to your own learning journey.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
We want you to think about what really stood out to you.
what resonated?
Yeah, what did you connect with?
What really made you think, oh, that's me?
Was it embracing mistakes?
Maybe?
Or was it finding those little habits you can do every day?
Yeah, those small, consistent habits that fit your life.
Right.
What are those aha moments?
Did you have any of those?
Did any of this make you think differently about learning English?
It could be anything from the guide.
Yeah.
Maybe it's finally setting clear, achievable goals.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you're finally going to try those language exchange apps we talked about.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
What really matters
is finding that one thing
that one thing
that motivates you.
to take action.
Yeah, to actually do something.
Because that's what this deep dive is all about,
It's not just about listening.
right? It's about doing something.
It's about taking what you've learned and actually using it.
Applying it to your own journey.
Right, your own unique path to learning English.
So as a final thought, we have a little challenge for you.
A challenge.
Yeah, a challenge.
Okay, I like challenges.
Pick one strategy,
Okay,
just one,
for strategy.
or one tip,
Okay.
or even just one inspiring story
That stuck with you.
that really resonated with you.
Yeah.
And this week,
This week.
try it out.
Let's try it.
See how it fits into your English learning.
You don't have to change everything.
It could be a small change.
Like what?
Maybe try watching a TV show with English subtitles,
Oh, yeah.
or record a voice message to yourself.
Practicing a new phrase.
Yeah, something small.
Because even a small step.
Is still progress.
That's right. Any progress is good progress.
And who knows? Maybe your story will be the one inspiring others.
In a future deep dive,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
That would be so cool.
So keep learning
Keep practicing.
and keep that positive mindset
We're cheering you on.
every step of the way.
Until next time.
Happy learning. Okay, have you ever felt like native English speakers are just talking way too fast?
Yeah.
It's like they're speaking some kind of secret code or just mumbling.
Right?
You shared a masterclass with me about speaking and understanding faster English, so we are diving into that today.
Yeah, and I think it'll be great to not just figure out how to understand rapid fire English, but also how to speak it more naturally and fluently ourselves.
For sure, for sure. I saw in the source material, they talk about this shadowing technique. I'm really curious to learn more about that. But first, why does English sound so fast to non-native speakers in the first place?
I think it's a few different things all coming together at once. One big thing is connected speech,
Okay.
which is basically how words kind of blend together.
Yeah.
Instead of what do you want? It sounds more like wadaya wanna.
Yeah. So it's not that the words themselves are faster. It's just they all kind of...
They mush together.
Yeah, they get mashed together, yeah. And then there's all those contractions too, right?
Absolutely. Contractions and reductions are everywhere in natural English. And I think they definitely add to the speed. Things like, going to do, becoming gonna, or want to, shrinking to wanna.
Yeah.
It's like we like to be lazy with our words, but it makes it hard for people to understand.
Yeah. No, what is this schwa thing I keep hearing about?
Yeah, so the schwa...
What is that?
The schwa is a tricky one. It's like this chameleon vowel that like changes based on the sounds that are around it.
Oh, okay.
It's this really unstressed, kind of like mumbly sound you hear in words like, the classic example is banana. You know, it's not banana, it's more like bunana.
Yeah.
It just becomes this like lazy sound.
So like the schwa, it can pop up in any word then.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just, banana is the one everyone uses.
It can even happen a bunch of times in the same word. Like think of the word photography.
Yeah.
It's not photography, it's more like photography.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
The schwa can really change how a word sounds.
It really is like a secret code. I think an audio example would be really good here.
Yeah.
The masterclass actually gives an example of, I should have told you earlier, both at kind of a slower speed and a native speed.
Okay.
So let's listen to that.
Sounds good.
Audio plays, I should have told you earlier, followed by, I should have told you earlier. Yeah. It's crazy.
It does.
It's almost like two different languages. I can totally see why this is a challenge.
Yeah. But what's cool is that you don't necessarily need to hear every single sound to get what's being said. Our brains are actually really good at filling in the missing information.
That's good to know because, yes, some of that is like impossible to understand. Okay, so how do we train our ears to be better at like decoders of all this?
Well, one really good way is to practice something called chunking.
Okay.
And basically, instead of getting stuck on each individual word, you try to hear phrases as like units.
Oh.
It's kind of like how we read, right? We're not focusing on each letter. We group the letters into words.
Yeah.
And then phrases.
Can you give me like an example?
Yeah, sure. Imagine someone's like, do you want to grab some lunch later?
Yeah.
If you try to pick out every single sound,
Yeah.
it's just a jumble, right?
Yeah.
But if you kind of chunk it together in your mind, you want to grab some lunch later,
Right.
it becomes way more clear.
Oh, yeah.
So you kind of get the big idea.
Yeah, you're listening for the key idea and not every little word.
Exactly.
Cool, cool. That kind of leads into the next thing, right? About listening in layers.
It does, yeah.
This sounds very Zen-like.
It is. It is. It's like, think about listening to a song for the first time. You're not going to catch all the words, all the lyrics, all the nuances right away, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with English.
So we're listening to the same thing multiple times.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and what are the layers?
Well, so on the first pass, you're just listening for the gist. Who's talking? What are they talking about?
Right.
And then on the second listen, you try to pick out keywords that'll give you more context.
Okay.
And then on the third listen, that's when you can really zero in on like the tricky bits, like the connected speech, maybe those contractions you couldn't quite pick out the first time.
Okay, it's kind of like peeling back an onion, right?
Exactly.
You get a little more information every time.
You got it.
Cool. We actually have a dialogue example in the masterclass that we can use to try this.
Perfect.
Audio plays. Hey, do you want to grab some coffee? Yeah, but let me finish this first. Cool, I'll meet you in 10.
Okay.
So how would we use this layered listening for this little coffee shop conversation?
Okay, so on that first listen, you're getting, okay, two people are going to get coffee.
Yeah.
Easy.
Easy.
Then on that second layer, you might pick out keywords like coffee, maybe finish this, and then like 10 minutes.
Okay.
So now you're getting a better picture of what's going on.
Right.
And then finally, on the third listen, you can really zoom in. Like, okay, do you want it? Let me.
Yeah.
How are they using those contractions and reductions?
Okay, yeah, that makes it much less intimidating.
Yeah.
Breaking it down like that. Now, what about speaking faster? How do we do that without sounding like, some kind of robot?
Like a robot reading a dictionary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Well, this masterclass talks a lot about sounding natural and fluent, not just talking faster.
Right.
Like you said, we don't want to sacrifice clarity just to sound fast.
Yeah, so are there specific techniques for this?
Well, remember all those contractions and reductions we talked about?
Yeah.
Those are really important for speaking fluently, too.
So instead of saying, like, I'm going to the store, I should say, I'm going to go to the store.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Oh.
And it might feel a little weird at first.
It does.
But I promise it just makes your English sound smoother and more effortless.
Okay. But how do we actually get used to doing that?
Right. Well, that's where that shadowing technique comes in.
Okay.
So you are going to be like a vocal chameleon. You listen to a native speaker.
Yeah. Say a phrase or a sentence. You pause it, and then you try to repeat exactly what they said.
Okay.
Matching their pronunciation, intonation, and speed.
So, okay, so like, what are you doing? I should say more like, what you doing?
Perfect, yeah.
Okay.
And you can start slow, and then as you get more comfortable, you can speed it up.
That's cool. Are there any other techniques we can use?
Yeah, another one is linking. Okay. So like native speakers, we just do it naturally, but it's something that you might have to practice consciously if you're learning.
Okay.
So like, for instance, not at all often becomes not at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the tan sound from not blends with that vowel sound of at.
Oh, that's so subtle. Wow.
It is.
I want to try a little fast reading challenge. Can I?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So the source material has the sentence, would you like to go to the movies later?
Yeah.
How would a native speaker actually say that?
Probably something like, would ya? Like, go to the movies later.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, so I'm noticing would you becomes would ya, to is like ta, and the like disappears before movies.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all about those smooth transitions.
Yeah. Okay. I can already tell I need to practice that one. We've been practicing here in this nice, perfect little world, right?
Right.
How do we take this into the real world where there's all kinds of accents and people talking at all different speeds?
That is the real challenge, right? Because the real world is full of all these variations, different accents, slang, speaking styles.
Yeah.
It's really like taking what you learned in the classroom and then
throwing yourself into the deep end.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember that feeling.
Yeah.
It was like scary. So what advice does the masterclass have for us for bridging that gap?
Well, I mean, really, it's about exposure and practice.
Okay.
The more you immerse yourself in the language, the more prepared you'll be to handle those real-world variations.
What are some good ways to get that real-world practice?
Well, they talk about watching TV shows and movies. You can start with the subtitles on to get the gist, and then challenge yourself.
Right.
Turn the subtitles off. See how much you could understand.
Yeah, I find even watching with English subtitles, like, helps me pick up stuff I might not have noticed otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's podcasts.
Okay.
Which are great because you can adjust the speed.
Right.
You can start slow, work your way up.
What about actually talking with native speakers?
Well, that's the best practice you can get, right?
Right.
Find language exchange partners, maybe join some groups online, or even, if you're brave enough, strike up conversations with people you meet.
I remember I was so scared to talk to native speakers when I was learning English.
Yeah.
But I realized, pretty quickly, most people are really patient and they appreciate the effort you're making.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it really is about just building that confidence and not being afraid to mess up.
For sure. Don't be afraid to ask people to slow down or repeat themselves.
Yeah.
People are happy to help.
Yeah. So we really need to embrace that messiness, right? It's going to be messy. It's not going to be perfect.
Absolutely.
Now, the masterclass has one final challenge for us before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive.
Okay.
They want us to imagine we're hanging out with friends, and they ask, hey, deal up for a movie tonight.
Fun.
Okay, I'm ready for this challenge. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Audio plays. Hey, you're up for a movie tonight. Dunno. What's playing? That new sci-fi one looks cool. All right, let me check the show times.
Oh, casual, fast English.
So what techniques are we hearing in this?
Okay, well, right away we hear that contraction, ya,
right,
instead of you, and then what's playing. It combines what is and playing into one little chunk.
I noticed they're saying do know instead of don't know, and then let me instead of let me.
It's amazing how those little things make such a big difference.
Yeah, it's like a little puzzle.
It is.
All these pieces, you can even hear that linking, looks cool becomes looks cool. That's so cool. Okay, so now the challenge is to imagine how we would respond.
Yes.
Using everything we've talked about.
Exactly, and there's no one right answer.
Right.
It's about using what you've learned and seeing how you can apply it to this conversation.
So we're leaving you with that challenge for now, dear listener. How would you respond to this invitation to go to the movies? We'll explore this more in the next part of our deep dive.
It's crazy to think about how all these tiny little things, the contractions, the schwa sound linking, it all adds up to make English sound so fast.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not really about speed, is it?
No, not really. It's more about understanding each other.
Right, being able to communicate.
Exactly.
I think that's easy to forget when you get so caught up in the rules and the technical stuff.
It's easy to get bogged down in that.
Yeah.
And forget why we're even learning the language.
Totally. I like that this masterclass really focuses on that, the human element of language. Yeah. It does. It gives some good advice about how to turn all this stuff we're talking about into real fluency.
That's what I'm curious about, because I feel like I've hit walls so many times where I'm just like, I'm not getting any better. Like, what's the secret to getting over those plateaus?
Well, it's not really a secret. I think a lot of people they don't do it.
Yeah.
But it's practice.
Yeah.
It's consistent practice.
Okay, so not just like cramming.
Right, not just cramming a bunch of words and grammar rules.
Right, yeah.
But really making it a habit.
Okay, yeah. So what would a good practice routine look like? Say I'm like just starting out.
Well, I mean, even if you could just do like 15, 20 minutes a day of focused listening.
Okay.
That's huge. It could be podcasts, TV shows, whatever you enjoy.
Right.
You could even just listen to conversations happening around you.
Right. That's such a good, like, easy tip, you know?
It is. It is.
You don't need anything special for that.
Just like go to a coffee shop, listen to people talking.
Yeah. Exactly. What about for speaking practice?
Speaking practice is a little tougher.
Yeah.
Because you have to actually,
find someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's a lot of groups online.
Uh-huh.
Language exchange apps and things like that.
Yeah.
You could even record yourself speaking and then listen back.
I used to do that.
Yeah.
It's so helpful.
Right. You catch all these little mistakes.
It is a little cringy, though.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But it's like having your own little language coach.
It is. And you said it earlier, too. It's okay to make mistakes.
Absolutely. That's how we learn.
That's how we learn, yeah.
Now let's talk about the shadowing technique. We kind of touched on it earlier. Can you explain a little bit more about how that works and why it's so good?
It's basically karaoke for language learning.
Okay.
You listen to a native speaker.
Yeah.
Try to repeat exactly what they're saying.
Okay.
Matching their rhythm, intonation, everything.
So it's like a workout for your mouth?
It is. It is. Getting it to do all those weird sounds.
Exactly. And you could do it with anything.
Oh, okay.
Like a podcast, a song,
Oh, cool.
a scene from a movie.
That sounds fun. What are some tips for making practice in general more interesting?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people think of it as a chore, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's important to find stuff that you're actually interested in.
Right.
Like if you love to cook, watch cooking shows in English. If you're a sports fan, listen to sports commentary.
It's so true. Like when it's something I like, it feels like I'm like not even trying.
Right, because you're actually paying attention.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, just find ways to connect your interests with language learning.
Right. It shouldn't be boring.
No, it should be fun.
Yeah. Even when we are enjoying it, I feel like we all hit those like plateaus.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that?
Well, I think it's important to remember that progress isn't always like a straight line, You're going to have times when you feel like you're rocketing forward and times where you feel like you're just stuck.
Yeah, like going backwards almost.
Right. And that's totally normal.
Yeah.
But you can't give up.
Right.
Just keep practicing and trust the process.
It's like when you're working out, right?
It is. It is.
You hit those plateaus. It's like, I'm doing all this and nothing's happening.
Right. But just like with fitness, consistency is key.
Okay.
Just keep at it.
And celebrate those like little wins. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get focused on this big like end goal.
Yeah.
And forget how far you've come.
Right. It's like looking at old pictures of yourself like, oh my God.
Exactly. You make so much progress.
Yeah. And that actually brings us to like confidence. Right.
It does.
Because when you can understand and be understood, you feel more confident. You feel more like able to.
You're not just a passive observer. You're an active participant.
Yeah. A whole new world opens up, basically.
It does. It does.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about a lot of technical stuff.
We have.
And resources and even like the emotional and social benefits of being fluent. I know this masterclass has one last challenge for us before we wrap up this section of our deep dive.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, remember that movie night situation we talked about?
Yeah.
Our friends invited us to go to a movie.
Yeah, they asked you up for a movie tonight.
And we heard all the back and forth about,
Yep.
What's playing and everything.
What time? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now the challenge is, what would you say? There's no script this time.
No, I like it.
Just like, what would you say?
It's like they're saying, okay, here are all the tools. Now you go.
Exactly, yeah.
Make something beautiful.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Yeah. And I think that's what this whole deep dive is about, right?
It is, yeah.
It's not about memorizing.
Yeah.
It's about being able to actually use the language.
It's about empowering you to use the language.
Yeah, yeah. So, dear listener, that's the challenge for you. Put yourself back in that situation.
Yep.
What would you say? How would you use these techniques we've talked about?
Yeah, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Just Like, what's your gut reaction?
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to try.
Okay.
So if my friends asked if I was up for a movie, I might say, yeah, totally. What are we thinking of watching?
Perfect.
I'm using a contraction.
You are.
I'm keeping it casual.
You are.
And I'm expressing enthusiasm.
Yes, you are.
I love it. And I'm already feeling more confident just thinking about,
I love that.
using all this stuff.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? Is finding your own voice.
Yeah.
And just being comfortable.
Awesome. So, dear listener, we want you to find your voice.
Yes.
Experiment, try new things, push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit.
And remember, fluency is not like an end point.
Right.
It's an ongoing journey.
It is, yeah.
Full of ups and downs, and it's all about connection,
It is, yeah.
Connecting with other people.
Okay, I think this is a good place to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and wrap up our deep dive into speaking and understanding fast English. I'm still thinking about that movie night challenge.
Yeah.
I like how it makes us actually, use what we learned.
It is. It's a good way to, bridge the gap between the ideas and actually putting it into practice.
Totally. It reminds us this isn't just about, memorizing rules. It's about, using language to actually talk with people.
Right. Language is about connection.
Yeah. This deep dive has been awesome.
Yeah.
Can we do a quick recap of what we talked about?
Yeah, for sure.
Just to make sure I've got all the key takeaways.
Okay, well, I think the first thing to remember is that speed is just one part of being fluent.
Okay.
You don't want to just talk fast.
Yeah.
You got to be clear.
Yeah.
And you got to sound natural.
Right. So it's a balance.
Exactly.
Okay. And one way to do that is using all those contractions and reductions.
Yeah, definitely. Those are super important.
Yeah.
They really make your English flow.
Now, what about chunking?
Oh, yeah, chunking's huge.
Yeah.
Training yourself to hear those chunks of words instead of every single word.
It's like we're upgrading our brains.
It is. It's like a software update.
Yeah.
For your ears.
That's a good way to put it. And then we have that layered listening approach. First the gist, then the keywords, then all that subtle details.
Right, like connected speech and all that.
Okay, and then for speaking, we've got that shadowing technique.
Ah, yes, shadowing.
That was really cool. Having a pronunciation coach in your ear.
Exactly. And you can do it with anything.
Right, any material that interests you.
Yeah.
So we've got all the tools. Now what's the secret to putting this all together? What's the magic formula?
Well, again, it's not really a secret. It's consistent practice.
Oh.
Finding things that you enjoy.
Right. It should be fun.
It should be fun, yeah. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Totally. Because when it's fun, you actually want to do it.
Exactly. And you'll learn faster that way, too.
Yeah. So, find things that you're into, like movies, podcasts.
Yeah. Or connect with other people who are learning.
Yeah.
You can all practice together.
Now we all know fluency isn't you don't just arrive there one day.
No, it's a journey.
Yeah.
With lots of twists and turns.
Yeah. And we're going to mess up along the way.
Oh, for sure.
You just got to, keep going.
Absolutely. Celebrate the wins and learn from the mistakes.
I think that's a great way to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah.
So, dear listener, hopefully this has given you some new ideas for how to take your English to the next level.
Yeah. Keep practicing and keep exploring.
And keep connecting with people.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, language is about connecting.
So true. That's it for our deep dive into speaking and understanding fast English.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.
Ever feel like you're just wading through a sea of words?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know that feeling.
But today, we're diving into the deep end.
That's right.
We're going to explore some advanced English vocabulary, 15 words to be exact.
Okay.
And they're all from this book, Test Your English Vocabulary.
Sounds like a challenge.
Well, it's not about memorizing definitions or anything like that.
Oh, good.
We're going to uncover their hidden depths and how these words connect to the bigger picture.
I like that. It's fascinating how these words can really unlock a deeper understanding of human behavior and communication and even our perception of time.
Absolutely. And to make it a little easier, we'll group our 15 words into themes.
Okay.
First up, the art of communication.
All right.
Or sometimes the lack of it.
Right.
Let's start with loquacious. I'm sure you've met someone like this. They could talk a blue streak.
Yeah.
Holding court at a party, even if no one else gets a word in edgewise.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's our loquacious friend.
Yeah.
It's interesting to contrast that with someone who's laconic. They might only say a few words, but those words carry weight. Think of a seasoned judge delivering a verdict. Just brief, to the point, No wasted syllables.
Oh, I like that example. Now, have you ever noticed how some people use big words to actually avoid clear communication?
All the time.
That's where obfuscate comes in.
Right.
It's like they're trying to build a wall of jargon to hide behind.
It happens a lot, especially in fields like, law or finance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's unintentional. They're so used to speaking a certain way, they don't realize it's confusing to others.
Right.
But other times it's a deliberate tactic, make things seem more complex than they are.
Yeah, it's like they think if they use enough fancy words, no one will question what they're actually saying.
Right.
But we're smarter than that.
Absolutely.
We're going to see right through that obfuscation and get to the heart of the matter.
And sometimes the most straightforward language is the most powerful.
Okay, enough about communication. Let's talk about behavior. Our next group of words explores some interesting character types we all encounter.
Okay.
The sycophant, the ostentatious, and the austere. Let's start with the sycophant.
All right.
Oof. Just the word makes me cringe. You know that person who's always showering someone with insincere praise just to get on their good side?
Yeah, the classic yes man, always trying to curry favor. It's interesting to think about why someone might behave this way. Could it be a lack of confidence or maybe even a manipulative strategy to gain power?
Oh, it makes you wonder, right? Now let's swing to the opposite end of the spectrum with ostentatious.
Okay.
This is our friend who loves to flaunt their wealth or success.
Oh, yeah.
Think of the person who always has to have the latest designer clothes, the flashiest car, always name-dropping their fancy vacations.
Yeah, it's all about outward appearances, often masking a deeper need for validation. It makes you think about our society's obsession with status symbols and material possessions, doesn't it?
Totally. Now, in contrast to the ostentatious, we have the austere. This describes someone who lives a simple, unadorned life.
Right.
They're not interested in flashy displays or material wealth. Think of a minimalist who values experiences over possessions.
That's a fascinating counterpoint to the ostentatious lifestyle. In a world that constantly bombards us with messages about what we should want and need, the austere individual chooses a different path.
And I think the word propensity ties all three of these words together nicely.
How so?
Well, it refers to our natural tendencies or inclinations. We might have a propensity for flattery, for extravagance, for simplicity. These tendencies shape our behavior in all sorts of ways.
Exactly. We all have propensities, and recognizing them in ourselves and others can be key to understanding why we act the way we do.
Now let's shift gears and get a little philosophical. Our next group of words deals with time and the intangible.
Okay.
Ephemeral, ubiquitous, and the ineffable.
All right.
Have you ever experienced something beautiful but fleeting, like a stunning sunset that disappears in minutes?
Oh, yeah.
That's the essence of ephemeral.
It's about recognizing the beauty in transience, in those moments that are precious because they don't last. In a world that often values permanence and stability, the ephemeral reminds us to cherish the fleeting moments.
That's beautifully put. Now, on the flip side, we have ubiquitous, which describes something that's absolutely everywhere. It used to be rare to see someone using a smartphone, but now they're ubiquitous. You see them on every street corner and every cafe.
Yeah, it's incredible how quickly things can shift from novel to commonplace.
Right.
The ubiquity of technology, for example, has had a profound impact on our lives, for better or for worse.
And finally, we come to ineffable, which might be my favorite word of the bunch.
Oh, why is that?
Well, it describes something so profound, so awe-inspiring, that words simply cannot capture it. Have you ever had an experience like that, where language just failed you?
Absolutely. Sometimes the most profound experiences are the ones that transcend language, like the feeling of standing on a mountaintop overlooking this vast landscape or witnessing the birth of a child. These are moments that defy easy description.
It makes you realize the limitations of language, doesn't it? There are some things that words simply can't convey.
And yet that doesn't stop us from trying, from searching for the words that come closest to expressing the inexpressible.
Well said. Ready to tackle our next set of words.
Hit me with it.
This group focuses on actions and reactions.
Yeah.
Perfunctory, temerity, and recant. We'll start with perfunctory.
Okay.
You know those days when you're just going through the motions?
Yeah.
Doing something out of habit or obligation, but without any real heart?
Yeah.
That's perfunctory in action.
We all have those days, right? The key is to recognize when we're stuck in a rut and to make an effort to infuse our actions with more intention and meaning.
So true. Now let's talk about temerity.
Right.
This word is all about boldness, audacity, even a little bit of recklessness. It's about having the guts to do something daring, even if it goes against the grain.
Right.
Have you ever witnessed an act of pure temerity?
Yes, actually. I recall a time when a junior researcher presented this groundbreaking theory that challenged, the established thinking in the field.
Wow.
It was a bold move considering the potential backlash from senior colleagues.
Wow, that takes courage.
It does.
That makes you wonder, what's the line between temerity and foolishness? I guess it depends on the outcome, right?
I suppose it does. But sometimes those acts of temerity are the ones that lead to true innovation and progress.
And finally, we have recant.
Okay.
This is about taking back your words, admitting you were wrong, often in a public way.
Right.
It could be a politician retracting a statement, a scientist revising a theory, or someone simply owning up to a mistake.
It's a powerful act, recanting.
Yeah.
It requires humility, a willingness to acknowledge our fallibility. In a world where people are often afraid to admit they're wrong, recanting can be a sign of true strength and integrity.
It's about putting truth above ego, which can be a tough thing to do.
It can.
All right, ready to move on to our last group of words.
Let's do it.
This one's all about dreamers and realists, and it centers around the word quixotic.
Quixotic. Named after the idealistic knight, Don Quixote.
Right.
He's famous for tilting at windmills, mistaking them for giants. It's a wonderful example of how idealism and imagination can sometimes clash with reality.
Exactly. The word quixotic captures that blend of idealism, romanticism, and perhaps a touch of naivete.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the balance between chasing dreams and being grounded in reality.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? On the one hand, we need idealism to inspire us, to push us beyond the limits of what seems possible. But on the other hand, we need pragmatism to navigate the complexities of the real world and make progress towards those ideals.
So true.
Yeah.
And sometimes those seemingly impossible quixotic goals can lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot between dreaming big and taking practical steps to make those dreams a reality. What about you? Do you have any quixotic goals you're pursuing?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to ponder that one for a bit.
Okay, but in the meantime.
So, any thoughts on those quixotic goals? Did any come to mind during that little pause?
I was thinking about how even outlandish goals can spark innovation. Like, if no one had ever had that crazy idea to fly, well, we wouldn't have airplanes, right?
It's true. Sometimes it's not about reaching that exact vision, but what we discover on the way there.
Exactly. And speaking of journeys, it strikes me how the words we've been discussing, they're not just isolated units of meaning. They're part of a larger system.
Right.
A network of interconnected ideas.
That's like a constellation.
Oh, I like that.
Each star adds to the overall beauty and significance of the pattern.
It's true. We've been focusing on individual words, but it's the way we use them, the context, the nuances. That's what brings language to life.
Exactly. Take a word like austere, for instance.
Okay.
It can describe a monk's simple life, but also the starkness of a desert landscape. Or even like a government's harsh economic policies. Same word, but vastly different connotations depending on how it's used. It reminds me of how a single musical note can evoke different emotions based on the melody and the surrounding notes.
That's a fantastic analogy. And just like a composer carefully chooses notes to create a specific mood, skilled communicators select words to evoke feelings and convey precise meaning.
This makes me think about the importance of expanding our vocabulary, not just for intellectual reasons, but to become more effective communicators.
Right.
The more words we have at our disposal, the more precisely we can express ourselves.
It's like having a wider range of colors on an artist's palette. A limited palette can still create beautiful art, but imagine the possibilities when you have every shade and hue imaginable.
And not only can a rich vocabulary enhance our own communication, but it also helps us understand the nuances of what others are saying.
Absolutely. Think about how, politicians or advertisers use carefully chosen words to influence our opinions and behaviors.
It's true.
The more we understand the subtle ways language can be used, the better equipped we are to critically evaluate the messages we're bombarded with every day.
It's about becoming more aware of the power of words, both for good and for bad, but also appreciating the beauty and complexity of language,
Right.
how it can be used to inspire, to connect, to create art.
And that brings us back to the word ineffable.
Okay.
It describes those experiences that transcend language.
Right.
Even though some things defy description, that doesn't mean we should stop trying to express them.
I agree.
It's the effort, the reaching for meaning that enriches our understanding.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
Even if we can't perfectly capture an experience in words, the act of trying can help us process it, make sense of it.
Absolutely.
And sometimes those struggles to find the right words lead to the most profound insights.
It's like those moments when a poet struggles to find the perfect rhyme or metaphor.
Yeah.
The result is often a line that's even more beautiful and evocative because of the effort that went into it.
Speaking of poetry, I'm curious, do you have a favorite word? One that you find particularly delightful or thought-provoking?
Oh, that's a tough one. There are so many. But one that's been on my mind lately is serendipity. I love the way it captures those unexpected delights that life throws our way.
Right?
Those moments of fortunate coincidence that lead to new discoveries or connections.
Serendipity is a beautiful word. It reminds me of how sometimes the most meaningful experiences happen when we're not actively seeking them out, when we're open to the unexpected twists and turns of life.
Exactly. It encourages us to embrace a sense of curiosity and wonder, to be open to the possibility that something amazing could be just around the corner.
And who knows, maybe our deep dive today will lead to some serendipitous discoveries for our listeners. They might stumble upon a new favorite word or make an unexpected connection between these words and their own lives.
I certainly hope so. After all, language is about so much more than just definitions. It's about expanding our perspectives, connecting with others, and exploring the richness of human experience.
Now, before we get too philosophical, I think it would be helpful to bring some of these words to life with some concrete examples.
Absolutely. It's one thing to understand a word in the abstract, but it's another to see how it's actually used in context.
For instance, we talked about obfuscate earlier.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how might you see that word used in, say, a legal setting?
Oh, that's an interesting one. In law, you might see obfuscate used to describe a defendant's attempts to hide assets or mislead the court. Or it could be used to criticize a lawyer's dense and confusing legal arguments.
So they're intentionally trying to make things difficult to understand.
It seems that way sometimes.
But as we've been saying, the more we understand these words and the ways they can be used, the better equipped we are to see through those attempts at obfuscation.
Exactly. And speaking of context, I think it'd be interesting to explore the etymology of some of these words.
Oh, yeah.
Trace their origins back to ancient languages and historical events.
I love that idea. Etymology can be like a detective story, uncovering hidden layers of meaning and revealing the fascinating journeys these words have taken over time.
For example, did you know that quixotic comes from the Spanish novel Don Quixote? It's amazing to think how a single literary character can inspire a word that becomes part of our everyday language,
That's true.
carrying with it the spirit of idealism and romanticism.
It's like these words become vessels, carrying centuries of history and cultural meaning within them.
And by delving into their etymology, we can unlock those hidden layers of meaning and gain an even deeper appreciation for the words we use.
It's like going on a linguistic treasure hunt. But instead of digging for gold, we're unearthing the stories and cultural influences that have shaped our language.
And those stories can be just as valuable as any treasure. They remind us that language is a living, breathing entity that's constantly evolving, shaped by the people who use it and the world around them.
This conversation has really sparked my curiosity.
Yeah, mine too.
I'm eager to delve even deeper into the world of language and explore more of its hidden treasures.
Me too. And I have a feeling our listeners are ready to continue this journey with us.
I think so too.
Should we take another short pause and come back for a final round of exploration?
That sounds like a perfect plan. We'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive into advanced English vocabulary. Welcome back to our deep dive into advanced English vocabulary.
Glad to be back.
It's been such a fascinating journey exploring all these nuances and hidden depths of these words.
Yeah, I agree. It really makes you realize how much richness and complexity there is in language.
Absolutely. And we haven't even touched on idioms and slang,
Oh, that's right.
which adds another layer of color and expressiveness to language.
Imagine trying to explain kick the bucket or spill the beans to someone learning English for the first time.
Oh, that's a good one.
It'd be like trying to teach them a secret code.
Absolutely.
Oh.
And every language has its own unique set of idioms and colloquialisms, right?
Right. It really reflects the history and the culture and even the sense of humor of a language.
Makes you realize how much language is tied to our identity,
Yeah.
both as individuals and as members of a particular community.
And it highlights the importance of cultural exchange and understanding.
Yeah.
The more we learn about other languages and their nuances, the more we expand our own worldview.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on something we haven't really talked about yet. The role of grammar and syntax in effective communication.
Ah, yes, grammar and syntax. While we've been focusing on individual words, it's the way we arrange those words, the structure of our sentences. That's what allows us to convey complex thoughts and ideas.
It's like building a house, right?
Yeah.
You need strong, well-crafted bricks, but you also need a solid framework to hold them together.
Precisely. Grammar and syntax provide that framework. They ensure that our message is clear and coherent and easy to understand.
It's amazing to think about how even a slight change in word order or punctuation can completely alter the meaning of a sentence.
A misplaced comma can lead to all sorts of ambiguity and confusion.
So true. And that brings us to another important point, the importance of being precise and intentional with our language choices.
Especially in written communication where we don't have, the tone of voice or body language to help convey our meaning.
Exactly. It makes you realize how much responsibility we have as communicators to use language carefully and thoughtfully.
And it highlights the importance of editing and revising our work to make sure our message is clear, accurate, and free of errors.
Well said. Now, as we come to the end of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a few key takeaways.
Okay.
First and foremost, language is constantly evolving.
It's true. New words are being coined all the time. Old words take on new meanings.
It's like a river,
Yeah.
always flowing and changing shape.
Which means we need to be lifelong learners. Always curious about language and how it's being used in the world around us.
I also want to encourage our listeners to embrace the power of language,
Absolutely.
to see it as a tool for connection, for creativity, for making a difference.
Words have the power to inspire, to inform, to persuade, to heal.
But they can also be used to harm, to deceive, to manipulate. So it's crucial that we use them responsibly and ethically.
Couldn't agree more.
And finally, language is a source of endless fascination and delight. There's always something new to discover, some hidden meaning to uncover, some unexpected connection to make.
That's one of the most beautiful things about it.
So keep exploring, keep learning, keep playing with words, and most importantly, never stop being curious about the incredible power of language.
Well said. Until next time, keep diving deep into the world of words. Okay, but really, think about it for a sec. How often are we all using words that kind of, sabotage what we're trying to say? Like little sneaky words making us sound less confident.
It happens more than you think, and it's wild how these tiny words can really affect how people see us, especially at work, right?
Totally. Which is why we're diving into this article, 11 words you should stop saying immediately. We're not just going to list them, though. We're breaking down why they're bad, and most importantly, giving you swaps so you can sound more powerful.
Think of it like upgrading your communication one word at a time.
First up, the word just. Ugh, I'm so guilty of this. You're writing an email and it's like, I just wanted to follow up, or just a quick question. Why does just make us sound so unsure?
It's subtle, but just makes your request smaller, almost like you're apologizing for it. Imagine waiting to hear back about a project, and you're like, I just wanted to follow up on the proposal. What's that say?
Makes me sound hesitant, like I shouldn't even be asking.
Right, but what if you just said, I'm following up on the proposal? It's tiny, but you sound way more confident taking charge.
No more tiptoeing, you own it.
Exactly. And that shift can change how your message lands big time.
Okay, another tricky one. Actually, this feels like a trap almost.
Oh, it can be. Actually, often slips out when we're correcting someone or giving a different view. But imagine someone's like, actually, I think we should go a different way. How's that feel?
Like they're shutting down my idea before even thinking about it?
It can sound condescending, even if they just meant to add to the discussion. Taking out actually makes it more collaborative. Like instead of, actually, I have a question about that, you could say, I'm curious about this part.
More like inviting a chat, not shutting it down.
Perfect. Still saying your thing, but it keeps the flow going, respectfully.
Now, maybe this one feels like almost self-sabotage, wouldn't you say?
It is. You wouldn't use maybe if you were really sure of your idea, so why hedge?
I guess it's like we're scared to commit to our thoughts, you know?
And that hesitation can hurt your credibility, especially at work. Decisiveness often equals competence. Instead of, maybe we should consider this. We should consider this. Hear the difference.
It's like you're leading, not just dipping a toe in.
Right. Showing confidence in your idea, inviting others to follow.
Okay, this one bugs me. Saying sorry when there's no need. Why do we apologize for, existing, basically?
It's a thing, isn't it? Do we really need to apologize for asking a question or taking up space or just saying what we think?
No way. And all that apologizing can actually make us seem, I don't know, smaller, less confident.
You're right. And the key is there are way better ways to say things. Instead of sorry to bother you, try thanks for your time or I appreciate your input.
Shows respect without sounding unsure. It's like shifting from apologizing for existing to being grateful for their attention.
Small but powerful, right? Changes how you come across.
All right, another confidence killer, I think. It's everywhere, but it makes what we say weaker.
It's a verbal tick for lots of us. But think about how much stronger it is without it. Like, I think this is the best option versus this is the best option. Huge difference.
You're right. It's a fact now, not just an opinion, maybe.
And sure, sometimes you want to say it's your view, not like universal truth. But even then, there are better ways.
So instead of, I think, you could say, from my analysis, or based on what I've seen.
Exactly. You're owning your view, but it's more, I don't know, sophisticated.
Like leveling up your communication, swapping out the wishy-washy stuff for strong, impactful language.
And that's what this deep dive's about, right? Giving you the tools to communicate clearly, confidently, like you mean it. It's crazy, right? How even little changes to how we talk can make us, like, more confident overall. When we pick words that sound sure, it changes how others see us, but also how we see ourselves.
That's like telling your own brain, hey, I got this.
Totally. And speaking of believing in yourself, let's talk about can't. This one messes with us, keeps us from, doing our best.
Oh, yeah, can't. It's so easy to just say, I can't do this, especially when something's hard.
It's almost automatic, but it's a trap. When we say can't, we're basically stopping ourselves from growing, from changing.
Like we're putting limits on ourselves before even trying.
And honestly, we could do way more than we think we can. So what if instead of I can't, we say something, well, more powerful? Like, I haven't learned this yet, or I'm still figuring it out.
I like that. It's not saying you'll never do it, just that you're on the way there.
Exactly. And that small change can help you stay motivated, keep going when things get tough.
It reminds me of that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. What we say really does affect what we believe.
So true. So let's pick words that lift us up, both when we talk to ourselves and to others.
Okay, almost done with the list, but a couple more big ones. Let's do but and. I mean, they're not bad words, but how we use them matters, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about the situation and what you're trying to say, but often goes after something positive and it kind of ruins it.
It's like giving a compliment and then taking it back. You did great on that presentation, but I think you could have been more engaging. Oof.
Exactly. The but erases the good stuff you just said.
Yeah.
Makes people feel, I don't know, discouraged.
So what's better?
And swap out the but for and it's way more constructive. Like, you did great on that presentation, and I think we can work together to make it even more engaging.
You're not just criticizing, you're helping. It's about fixing things, not just pointing out what's wrong.
And that's such a good attitude to have, right? At work, anywhere.
All right. Got to address the big one. Literally, people misuse this all the time. It's almost funny how wrong it gets.
Yeah, it's become this word people use to emphasize stuff, even when it's not actually true.
Yeah.
But using it wrong makes you sound less credible, like you don't know what you're talking about.
I think it shows how important it is to use the right words. When we choose carefully, we say what we mean more clearly, and it has more impact.
Couldn't agree more. It's about respecting how powerful words are and using them to your advantage. So let's all try to use literally, correctly, and really all words, thoughtfully.
Okay, before we go on, gotta mention kind of and sort of again. They seem small, but they weaken what you're trying to say.
Oh, they're so wishy-washy. They make you sound uncertain, like you don't really care. Imagine telling your boss, I'm kind of excited about this new project. Not exactly inspiring, huh?
Sounds like you'd rather be doing something else.
Exactly. So instead of that, let's use words that are, stronger, more definite. Like, I'm intrigued by that, instead of I'm sort of interested. More specific, more interesting.
And it shows you're really paying attention, involved in the conversation.
Right on. Now, sticking with words that fill space but don't add anything, let's talk about like. It's supposed to connect with people, but it can actually make you sound less smart.
It's so ironic. It's like people say all the time, especially when they're nervous.
But it's even better. Just pausing.
Yes. Silence is way more effective than filling the space with, nothing.
Gives your brain a second to think, so you can choose better words.
And it makes you sound more thoughtful, calm, which can be really powerful.
And while we're at it, how about, this one comes up when we're not sure if the other person's getting what we're saying. Like we need them to agree with us.
It's like we're doubting ourselves, even though we're the ones with the ideas.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about. You can explain it clearly. Trust yourself. Let that confidence show.
That's a good point. We don't always need someone to tell us we're right. We can just own it.
Exactly. Now, one last thing about how our language affects how we interact with people. We've talked about specific words, but it's also about the vibe we give off.
Right. Sometimes it's not just the words, but how we say them.
Totally. Like think about, I have to do this versus I get to do this. It's just a different way of looking at it, but it changes how you feel about it.
It's like turning something you have to do into something you want to do.
It's about feeling like you have control, even when things are tough or boring.
I love that. We really can choose how we see things just by how we talk about them.
And that's kind of the main point of all this. It's not about banning certain words. It's about being aware of what we say, picking words that show what we believe, make us feel confident, and help us really connect with people.
Honestly, I'm kind of fired up now to use all this stuff. It's amazing how just changing a few words can make such a difference in, everything.
It really shows you how powerful language is, right? We don't always realize how much what we say shapes our whole experience.
So for our listeners, what's one thing they can do today to start using all this?
Good question. I think the best way is to just pick one thing, one word from our list that, stood out to you. Maybe you use it too much or you think it's holding you back.
Okay, let's say I pick just. What then?
Try to, completely stop using it for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to when you want to say it in emails, conversations, even just thinking to yourself.
Like a little challenge, see what happens when you change just one word.
Exactly. I bet you'll be surprised. See how people react when you're more direct, more confident. And notice how it makes you feel. You might find that not saying just makes you sound more sure of yourself. And D actually makes you more confident.
So it's like teaching your brain to use better words by default.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's like exercise. The more you use those confident words, the more natural they'll feel.
Makes sense. So it's not about being perfect right away. It's about getting better over time.
Exactly. And hey, you don't have to do this alone. Tell a friend about the episode or a coworker and help each other out. You could even make it fun. Point out when someone slips up.
That's a good idea. It's always easier to stick with something when you have someone to do it with.
And who knows, maybe you'll start this chain reaction of confident communication at work everywhere.
What a great thought. Well, we've definitely given everyone a lot to think about today. It's been, really interesting and inspiring. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how to use words to be more confident and clear.
It's been great diving into this with you. And to everyone listening, remember, what we say really matters. Mm-hmm. So let's choose our words carefully. And until next time, stay curious, stay confident, and keep on learning.
All right. So are you ready to really boost your English fluency? I mean, take it to that next level.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Well, today we're diving deep into phrasal verbs.
Those are essential.
They really are. They're the secret code to sounding really natural,
Yes.
Especially if you're already pretty comfortable with the basics of English.
Right, you got to get those phrasal verbs down.
Exactly.
And what I think is so fascinating about them is the way they kind of weave themselves into just everyday English.
Yeah, it's you can't escape them, can you?
No, you can't. And they're not just about casual chit-chat.
Right.
They pop up everywhere. We'll see them in professional settings, travel scenarios, even when you're talking about learning new things or improving yourself.
Yeah, you're right. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
We've got 25 essential phrasal verbs to unpack today, and I'm telling you, you'll be surprised by how their meanings can shift depending on the situation.
Yeah, it's true. It's sometimes the same phrasal verb can have so many different meanings.
Right.
It's they're these little chameleons.
Right.
Blending in, adding that extra layer of meaning.
Subtle mastery, huh?
Yes. That's what sets apart a fluent speaker.
For sure. So let's start with those everyday conversations, the ones we have all the time. I'm thinking about turn up and run into. They seem so simple on the surface.
Right. Yeah.
But I bet there's more to them than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Take turn up, for example.
Okay.
If someone says he didn't turn up for the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of has a negative connotation to it, right?
You're where were you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
implies a lack of responsibility. Maybe even like a little bit of disrespect.
For sure. For sure.
But, if you're at a party and the volume's too low, you might say, can you turn up the music?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Same verb, totally different vibe, right?
It is. It is. It's like the context around the phrasal verb, it like colors it, gives it that extra layer of meaning.
Exactly. And run into kind of has that element of chance, like surprise. If you say, I ran into an old friend, that paints a much more vivid picture than just saying like, oh, I met an old friend.
Right. I see what you mean.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. You can like almost feel the surprise and joy in that encounter.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk about the work and business category.
Okay.
And I noticed in this section, look into and come up with. These are verbs you'd probably hear, in an office setting.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Maybe in a boardroom, who knows?
Yeah, boardroom, meeting, like these verbs are all about like, clarity and action in a professional setting.
Right, being efficient.
Efficient, yeah. If you say we need to look into this issue that like sounds a lot more, proactive, it's more decisive than just saying like we need to investigate.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And come up with that one's all about that creative problem solving.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
I like that. So it's almost like these phrasal verbs cut through all the fluff.
Yes.
They just get straight to the point, which is so important at work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Especially in a fast-paced environment.
Yeah. And imagine you're in a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And you're struggling to express those key actions.
It would be painful.
Yeah. So mastering these, can make you a much more effective communicator at work.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's get ready to explore the world a little bit. Travel and socializing. When it comes to this, I thought about pick up and drop off.
Yes.
They're essential for getting around, making plans,
Absolutely. I mean, think about that classic travel phrase. Can you pick me up from the airport?
It's so common.
Yeah. It's direct. It's clear. It gets the message across.
Effortless.
Yeah, effortless. Yeah. And drop off too. Like I'll drop you off at the station on my way. Makes, coordinating plans so much smoother.
Yeah, super smooth.
What's
interesting about those two is it highlights the social aspect of language,
I know.
If you offer to pick someone up or drop them off, it's more than just the action, It kind of conveys a sense of, I don't know, like helpfulness, consideration.
Right, you're going out of your way for them a little.
Exactly. Okay, and speaking of subtle shifts in meaning, check-in. That one seems to have like multiple personalities.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
Depending on the context.
It does.
Right.
You've hit the nail on the head there. Check in at a hotel, like that's a formal procedure, right? Yeah. But if you say check in with a friend, that's just casual.
Totally different.
It implies like that you care.
Right. You're just seeing how they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a perfect example of how, phrasal verbs just adapt and evolve, They just change.
Yes, they do.
Depending on the situation. All right, it's time to level up our skills even more. Learning and self-improvement. I'm intrigued by catch up on and figure out, they seem to like capture the essence of personal growth.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they really do. Catch up on, that kind of implies that you're making an effort, right?
Yeah.
Like a conscious effort to, stay current, expand your knowledge.
Yeah, it's like active learning.
Yes, and figure out, has that problem-solving vibe, right?
It's like that aha moment.
Yes, it's about like overcoming challenges, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone.
Which is like part of personal development, right?
Absolutely. Embracing those aha moments.
Yeah.
And recognizing that, learning it's a journey.
It never ends.
What's fascinating is how these verbs kind of empower you to like talk about your learning journey.
Yeah, to actually articulate it.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
So thinking about those learning goals, is there a particular phrasal verb from this category that like resonates with you right now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Something that you could see yourself using, in your self-improvement journey.
Let me think. I think figure out, actually. I like that one because, well, I am always trying to figure out new ways to approach problems.
Yeah.
Or just learn from my experiences.
Absolutely.
It's a verb that shows that continuous growth.
Yes.
Which I find motivating, It never stops.
It never stops.
So I like that one.
It's like figure out. becomes a reminder to just stay curious
Right.
and embrace that whole learning process.
Yeah, exactly. And you never know what you're gonna learn next when you're trying to figure things out.
Exactly.
I like that.
That's a good one.
It really is amazing how much meaning these little verbs pack. They really make our communication so much more dynamic.
They do, yeah. It's like they unlock fluency somehow.
Yeah.
Make English sound, well, more natural.
You know, speaking of unlocking things,
Yeah.
I have a fun idea.
Okay.
How about we do a little quiz just to test what we know about these phrasal verbs so far?
Oh, I love a quiz.
Yeah.
Let's do it. See if our listeners have been paying attention.
Okay, first question. Imagine you're working on a project and it's just not going anywhere. You finally decide to just stop working on it completely.
All the time.
Right. So which phrasal verb would you use? Would you say that you gave up on the project or looked into it or maybe turned up at the meeting?
Okay, so we're looking for the verb that means to just, like, stop completely, abandon it.
Exactly. And the answer is
Gave up.
gave up. Yeah.
Yeah, you gave up on that project.
It definitely doesn't feel good, but
Yeah,
it happens. Sometimes things just don't work out.
it's a fact of life.
Yeah.
All right, ready for the next question?
Get me with it.
Okay, so imagine you're trying to understand, like, a really complex problem,
Yeah.
and you want to get to the root of it, you know, like all the little details.
Okay, so like you're really trying to solve it, not just scratch the surface.
Exactly, yeah. So which phrasal verb fits best here? Would you figure out the problem, go over the details, or run into a solution?
So this is all about being really analytical, right? Like really digging into the problem.
Yes, exactly. Thinking it through.
So the answer must be
Go over.
go over. That's right.
Yeah, you're going over all the details.
Okay, last question. You're getting ready to give a presentation
Okay.
and you want to practice it beforehand. Which verb describes that? Would you show up at the presentation, come up with a new idea, or maybe run through your speech?
This one is all about getting ready,
Yeah.
you know, rehearsing, making sure you know everything.
Yeah. Making sure it all flows, all the pieces are in place.
Exactly. So the answer has to be
Run through.
run through.
Yeah.
You got to run through that presentation.
Make sure you're prepared for anything.
Exactly.
Well done, listeners. You guys are pros. You're really getting the hang of these verbs.
You're going to be fluent in no time.
But this is just the beginning. I mean, there's so much more out there, you know, when it comes to phrasal verbs.
Oh yeah, so many. It's like a whole other world.
It is like another level of fluency.
It is.
So before we finish our deep dive today, I want to talk about how to actually make these 25 verbs part of your everyday English.
Yeah.
It's one thing to understand them,
Right.
but how do you actually use them naturally, you know?
That's the real challenge. It's all about like bridging that gap between knowledge and actually applying it.
Yeah.
The good news is with phrasal verbs, like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Just pay attention to how native speakers use them in conversations, in movies, and songs.
Yeah, that's good advice. Like just be more aware.
Be more aware. Yeah, you'll start to notice patterns and kind of pick up on the nuances.
Yeah, it's like immersive learning, you know?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
Try using these phrasal verbs in your own conversations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You might stumble a bit at first,
Yeah, of course.
but that's okay. That's all part of the learning process.
Right, you're not going to get it perfect the first time.
Exactly. Yeah. But the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
Of course. It's like anything, right? Practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
But sometimes just like jumping in can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips to make the learning process a bit more, I don't know, organized?
Oh, absolutely. Like a great technique is to use flashcards.
Oh, yeah.
Like write the phrasal verb on one side and then maybe like an example sentence on the other.
Yeah, classic.
Classic, yeah. That way you're not just like memorizing the definition. You're actually seeing it in action.
Right. You see how it works in a sentence.
Exactly, yeah. Another good strategy is to keep like a phrasal verb journal.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Every time you encounter a new one, just jot it down.
Yeah, like your own personal dictionary.
Exactly. And you can add an example sentence too.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed at how quickly your vocabulary will grow.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You know, before we wrap up completely, I'm just curious, do you have like a go-to phrasal verb? One that you just use all the time?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think mine would probably be break down.
Oh, yeah.
It's so versatile. You can break down a problem, you can break down a concept, you can even break down a wall.
Yeah, it's true.
It just means to like, you know, analyze something, make it more simple, make it more manageable.
Yeah, and it works in so many situations. I think that's what's so cool about phrasal verbs, right?
Yeah.
They're adaptable.
Yes.
And once you start using them, your English just sounds so much more natural.
It really does.
Yeah.
So just remember, this deep dive, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep practicing, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Yes. Learning should be fun.
It should be fun, yeah.
Yeah.
The more you enjoy it, the more you'll learn.
Absolutely. So as you go about your day-to-day, what phrasal verbs are you going to try to use?
Yeah, good question.
Will you brush up on your skills? Will you look out for some new opportunities?
I might try to dream up a new adventure.
Ooh, I like that one. The possibilities are endless.
They are. It's been so fun diving into the world of phrasal verbs with you.
It has been.
Happy learning, everyone.
And that's a wrap on our exploration of these fascinating little, bundles of words. We hope you feel inspired to embrace phrasal verbs, make them a part of your everyday English, because fluency is a journey, not a destination, right? And every step you take brings you closer to mastering this amazing language. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so get this. Today we're looking at how to boost your English fluency with just 19 words.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right? Sounds too good to be true, but that's what this whole deep dive is about.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the source material. It's like a crash course for English fluency. Just 19 words.
It's interesting because a lot of people think that to be fluent, you have to know tons of words.
Right.
But this is like the opposite. It's about using the right words at the right time.
Oh, I like that. Like having a toolbox.
Exactly.
With just the tools you need.
Yeah.
So where do we even start with this? There's all these different categories in the source material.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is transition words.
Okay, transition words.
Those little words that connect your ideas?
Like however and therefore.
Exactly. Those are great examples.
Yeah, we use those all the time.
Yeah. But they're so important.
Yeah, I never really thought about why they're important.
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
If you were listening to someone
Yeah.
and they just jumped from one idea to the next
Oh, yeah.
without any transitions,
It'd be so jarring.
that sounds so spread.
Where are you going with this? Yeah.
So transitions help everything flow. And when you use them well, you sound more organized, more articulate.
Right, because you're guiding the listener.
Exactly.
You're not just throwing random ideas out there.
It's like you're saying, hey, stick with me here. I'm taking you somewhere.
Okay, that makes
Okay.
sense. So those little words really make a difference.
They do.
Now, I want to talk about something that I struggle with.
Okay.
It's those power verbs
Yeah.
and clarity adjectives. Like, why say something is good
Right.
when you could say it's compelling?
Exactly. Or insightful.
Yes. Think about a time when you were just captivated by something. What words would you use to describe it?
Exactly. You want to use words that paint a picture.
Okay.
And strong verbs do that.
So instead of saying, I made a new strategy,
Yeah.
you say, I implemented a new strategy.
Exactly. So that's much stronger.
Oh, it sounds so much better.
Right.
But sometimes I just don't have those words at my fingertips.
Right.
I know what I want to say, but
Yeah. It can be tough.
yeah.
But that's the beauty of this 19-word thing. You don't
Right.
have to learn a million words.
Yeah.
Just focus on these key ones.
So quality over quantity,
Exactly. And it's not about trying to sound super smart.
right?
It's about being clear and effective. Or for example, if you're sending a professional email
Yeah.
and there's a problem, instead of saying this is bad,
Oh, right.
you could say this presents a challenge.
Okay, so you're still acknowledging the problem,
Right.
but in a more professional way.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. Okay, now for the one that always trips me up,
Oh, tell me.
affect versus effect.
Oh, colossal.
I swear, I still mix these up.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Even native speakers mess these up.
Oh, thank goodness.
But it's so important to get them right.
Yeah, if you're giving a presentation or something,
Right.
it can undermine your whole message.
Exactly.
So how do we finally conquer this?
Okay, so remember this. Affect is usually a verb,
Other.
meaning to influence.
Okay.
And effect is usually a noun, meaning the result.
Okay.
So the weather affected my mood.
It influenced how you felt.
Right. And the effect of the weather was that I stayed inside.
That was the outcome. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense now.
Good.
So we've got our transition words, our power verbs and adjectives, and we've tackled those tricky word pairs. What's next?
Let's talk about natural phrases.
Ooh,
Those little expressions that make you sound.
like a native speaker.
Exactly.
I'm ready to unlock the secrets. What have we got?
Well, the source material mentions things like out of the blue, hit the nail on the head, think outside the box.
Okay, so I actually use those.
Yeah.
But I never thought about how they might sound
Yeah.
to someone learning English.
Right, because for native speakers,
Yeah.
they just come naturally.
Right.
But they add so much personality to your language.
Instead of just like stating facts.
Exactly.
You're adding flavor.
Right.
It's like adding spices to a dish.
I love that analogy.
So the other day, I was telling my friend
Yeah.
how I saw someone I hadn't seen in years. And I said, I ran into him out of the blue.
Yeah.
It just felt more natural than saying, I saw him unexpectedly.
Yeah, those natural phrases, they just add another level.
They do. I'm definitely going to pay more attention to those.
They're good.
And try to use them more.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these small tweaks can really make a difference.
That's what this whole 19-word approach is about.
Yeah.
Giving you the tools to communicate better.
So we've got our transitions, our power verbs, tricky pairs, natural phrases. What's the final tool in our fluency toolbox?
Let's talk about those advanced nouns.
Oh, okay.
You know, words like dilemma, momentum, consensus.
Yeah, those are the ones that make you sound really smart.
They do.
But I'll be honest, I sometimes get a little intimidated by them.
Yeah.
Like I'll be in a conversation and think, oof, there's a better word for this.
Right.
But I just can't think of it.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
It's normal to feel that way.
Okay.
Because we don't use those words every day.
Right.
But when you do use them,
Yeah.
it shows a deeper understanding of the language.
Like you're saying, hey, I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to try to use those more.
Good.
Maybe I'll impress myself.
I think you will. And remember, it's not about sounding smarter than everyone.
Right.
It's about using language effectively.
Okay, so we've explored all these categories
Yeah.
of these 19 words. But how do we actually put this into practice? The source material does mention some practice tips.
It does. It talks about the importance of practice.
Right, because it's not enough to just know the words.
Exactly. You have to use them.
You have to actually use them.
Yes. And one tip is to start small.
Okay,
Don't try to use all 19 words at once.
right. That would be overwhelming.
It would be. So just focus on one or two at a time.
That's a great point. It's like breaking it down into smaller steps
Exactly.
so it feels less daunting.
And remember, fluency is a journey.
Not a destination.
Right. So be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress.
Okay, I love that.
It even says, like, try to use just one new word a day.
Oh, wow.
Like, imagine you
Yeah.
could add 365 new words to your vocabulary in a year.
That's amazing.
Oh.
That would totally change the game.
Right.
And doesn't even sound that hard.
No.
I could definitely use one new word a day.
Yeah.
It's like a fun little challenge.
It is. It's all about that momentum, you know?
Yeah, those little wins.
Exactly. It keeps you going.
And it makes it feel less overwhelming.
Totally.
Like this whole less is more idea.
Yeah.
Focus on the essentials,
Right.
master those, and then you'll sound more fluent.
Exactly. It's about being intentional. Right.
Yeah.
Choosing the words that really matter.
You know, we've all had those moments where someone says just the right thing
Yes.
and it just hits you.
It's powerful, right?
It is. Like it makes you think or feel something.
Exactly.
And that's the power of choosing your words carefully.
It is. You know, there's that famous quote. It's
Yeah.
like, I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time.
That's so true.
Right. Because being concise,
Yeah,
it actually takes more effort,
it does.
but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's the difference between just speaking and
Wow.
really communicating.
Exactly.
Think about a speech that's moved you. It's probably not full of like jargon or super complicated words.
Right.
It's simple but powerful.
Yeah. The words resonate with you.
They do. It's like
Like what?
it's like a chef who uses just a few high quality ingredients
Okay. Yeah.
but creates an amazing dish.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, they're not trying to like overwhelm you with flavors.
Right.
It's all carefully selected.
So if we apply that to language,
Yeah.
it's about being mindful of how we combine words.
To get our message across.
Exactly.
It's like the grammar of fluency.
It is. It's not just knowing the words. It's
Yeah.
how you put them together.
Yeah, the structure, the tone, the emphasis.
That's about.
You know, as we're talking, I'm realizing fluency isn't just about sounding native.
No.
It's about connecting with people.
Exactly. It's like building bridges.
Yeah, between minds and heart.
When you can express yourself clearly,
Yeah.
it opens up so many possibilities.
I mean, you're free to share your ideas, your stories,
Yeah.
without feeling limited by language.
Exactly.
That's so empowering.
It is. Fluency lets you participate in conversations, build relationships, advocate for things you care about.
Wow.
You can even inspire others with your words.
I love that. It's about having a voice
Yes.
and using it.
And, I've definitely held back from saying things.
Really?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I could say it right.
Oh, I get that.
But with practice,
Yeah.
those barriers come down.
Okay, so this 19-word approach,
Yeah.
it's like a starting point to build
From
from.
feeling intimidated to feeling empowered.
We talk a lot about personal growth on this show.
Yeah.
And I think language is such a big part of that.
Totally.
It's how we express ourselves.
Yeah.
How we connect with the world.
It's essential.
And it's a journey that never really ends.
It doesn't. Language is always changing.
That's true.
So there's always more to learn.
Okay. I think this is a good place to take a pause.
Sound good.
But don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back.
We have more to share. All right. So we're back. And I was just thinking, this whole fluency thing, it's not just about sounding like a native speaker.
Right.
It's about really connecting with people.
It is. It's like you're able to
Yeah.
express yourself more fully.
So someone listening might be thinking, okay, this is all great, but how do I actually,
Yeah.
use this?
Well, remember that source material?
Yeah.
It really stresses that you don't have to know every word in the dictionary.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. It's about
Yeah.
choosing the right words
Okay.
to express yourself clearly.
And confident.
Yes.
And what I like about this approach
Oh.
is it's for anyone, no matter your level.
Exactly. Beginner, advanced.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your mindset
Okay.
from feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
to focusing on the essentials, like those 19 words.
So it's like having a strong foundation.
Yes.
Instead of trying to build like a skyscraper on sand.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey,
Yeah.
not a destination.
Be patient, celebrate the progress.
And enjoy those aha moments.
I love those. Like when you use a new word and it just clicks.
It feels so good. One thing I keep thinking about is
Yeah.
how important it is to be intentional with language.
Oh, yeah. That's been coming up for me too.
It's not just about speaking fluently.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about speaking thoughtfully.
Choosing your words carefully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Making sure your message is clear.
So it has the impact you want.
Right. Like it's the difference between
Yeah.
throwing a dart randomly
Okay.
and aiming for the bullseye.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Intentionality brings focus.
Yes. And it shows in how people perceive you
Okay.
when you use language precisely.
Yeah.
You sound more confident, more credible.
It's like you're saying, I respect your time, so I'm going to make every word count.
Exactly.
So, to wrap things up, I have a question for our listeners out there.
Okay. What is it?
We focused on these 19 words, but what other words
Yeah.
or phrases do you think are essential for fluency?
I love that question
Good.
because it shows that language is always changing.
Right.
There are always new words to learn.
New things to discover.
So keep expanding your vocabulary.
That's such a good reminder. It's a lifelong journey,
It is.
no matter how fluent you think you are.
There's always more to learn.
I love that.
Oh.
Okay, so to our listener, keep your ears open, your mind curious, and your tongue practicing.
The world needs to hear your voice.
Yes. And fluency is the key to unlocking its potential.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.